Hey guys, hope everybody is doing well. It has been a minute since I have come on, and I basically have been doing a lot of things right now in regards to the market as well as setting up a bunch of other stuff. So, um, really no excuse except that I just been really busy, and so I'm sorry about me not coming on. Plus, last week I went up to Vermont. Over the weekend from about Thursday to Sunday. It's a beautiful time. If anybody's ever experienced the Northeast, you guys know that October is a spectacular in regards to beauty and foliage. Basically, it's the changing of the season from summer to fall, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience. So I went up there with my church, and we were just hanging out and kind of just hanging out with each other and enjoying um, fall foliage and I just spending time um, with God and just hanging out. So it was actually really good. Um, but I want to encourage you guys to go through and check. All right, I apologize. I'm actually trying to finish the last little bit here, so I'm sorry about the little delay here. I'll jump right into the markets here real quick. And checking out a few other things that I'm looking to do. So I want to encourage also people be paying attention to um, a few of the jobless reports coming up here and the increase in jobs versus a decrease in jobs right now because of inflation. A lot of people are going back to work, which will then push inflation even higher. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here in regards to people laying people off, as well as people having to find work because of inflation. So it's something to be really interested to see as we move forward, just simply because of what is going on in the markets and what we're seeing with certain other things. So I'm a little apprehensive to see what we have coming, just because many times, and I've heard this multiple times now, that millionaires, if not billionaires, soon to be billionaires, are created during major recessions and major major upheaval in the markets. So I always tell people, look, you never know what we're doing or what the market's doing, but from a fundamental level, we have definitely seen more businesses started in downturns. So for you, if you're thinking about a business and figuring out a way to do it, do it. It's one of those things I feel like as people, as Americans, we do have the opportunity to be able to do something like that, whereas a lot of the rest of the world doesn't. And so those who are in the states, really consider doing stuff and starting up a business or figuring out a way to use credit for it, because it could be a big deal. Anyways, so let's jump right into the market here and then we move forward. So, give me 1 second here. Last one here. Okay, so let's jump right into the markets here. It's been really interesting to see what we're seeing um, when it comes to the ES. ES is really looking really interesting, simply because, well, we bounced off of this weekly period, um, 8 period moving average, and we did not put any real buyer wick down in here. So to me, it screams to me that it really wants to go down into these lower levels and test these areas. Tomorrow we have jobless report um, coming in. Um, it's just really interesting to see what we're going to see with that as we come back and test that. And if we do continue higher, where are we looking to get? Where are we looking to go? So if we pull into the month we have an 8 period moving average that we've been playing off of with the S&P 500. So if we come and test this, because we don't have a lot of buyers sitting at these levels here, I do see it's coming back and retesting this and then finding out what happens there. Paying attention to our higher time frames here as well. We also got some supply weeks as well within this area. If we can pull this up, this here would be more of an area of supply on a monthly level. And so we're definitely not just going to bypass this area here. Definitely going to hit this and see what happens after, if it does see a sell-off. But here again, we have that 8-period moving average in an area of supply that we saw price down from. So really interesting to see what happens. We did go up pretty much into the first part of the month, and then came a little bit of a sell-off and then push up. So we have we're in the middle of the third week here. We typically will see some type of movement in the market as we move forward, just simply because, and I want to, here it is. We're in between these areas here of demand and supply wicks. So it's going to be really interesting to see, are we going to ping pong up these levels, or are we going to see some major sell off down into these lower levels? We'll find out. But our area here of gap here that we placed here with the 50-period moving average and that 200-period moving average is holding fairly strong. So there's pretty good support in these levels. Like I said a few weeks ago, that this area wasn't going to cut through real quick. You know what I'm saying? It was going to definitely hold. And then we'll see some rebounding off of that area. I personally think when it comes down to the market, that we're kind of consolidating period here. That is really letting us. Well, part of the guys, I don't know why that's playing. So yeah, that's where we're at right now in regards to this. Now let's pull up the NASDAQ here. NASDAQ looks pretty much the same thing. Looks pretty much like the same thing that we're seeing here. We are bouncing off of that 8-period moving average and then selling off below the resistance of the 20-period weekly moving average and that weekly 8. So it's an interesting situation that we're playing here, just simply because the NASDAQ has been holding on to that weekly 8-period moving average now for a while, all the way back up to here. So be paying attention to that, because if the fact that we did sell off on that again after the second try of it is more of an indication of a bearish sentiment than an actual bullish sentiment. And the fact is that I didn't get much of a seller wick here as well with the NASDAQ. So it's really, really interesting to see what's going to happen. Towards the end of the month, I personally think we will see a sell-off down into these lower levels again. When we come down to that 9,000 mark area that I have marked here, we'll see. We'll see. But I do think that this is an area in which it will most likely come within a month or two. So really interesting to see as we keep continuing. When it comes down to the RTY, RTY shows pretty much the same thing, which is the Russell 2000 for the futures. You can see here that we are playing off the junctional point turning area here, where we're seeing the 20 and the 200 period moving average cross on that weekly. So this is an area in which we would have seen some major sellers stepping in from an institutional level. As we come down even further, the DYX is looking very interesting. And the fact is that we have put it on a weekly level. That 8-period moving average, which we've been pretty much following now since the 95 area here. So we've been bouncing off that weekly and monthly 8 here. So we'll see as we continue to move higher. Really what we want to see is some type of sell-off, personally, because the rest of the world is hurting so bad that we need it. I mean, just being honest, right? Like, we need some type of reprieve for the rest of the world so they can actually exchange in dollars versus having to basically like sell a kidney or something. It's kind of sad with what's going on with the disparity between the dollar and the rest of the currencies around the world. We'll find out as we move forward. But if we move forward up into these areas here, the 118, 117 area mark is an area here that I am looking for the market to turn around and see a decent sell-off. These areas here all together are typically going to be areas of sell-off areas, so be paying attention to that, guys. When I look at the time frames, the higher time frames, though, I'm not seeing a lot of buy wicks coming in, so it could be that they're looking to drop this here once we hit, as we hit a higher time frame SMAs. It's going to be really interesting to see as we continue. Here we go. I want to pull this up here real quick. I actually just had this idea. Let's make that into a purple or different color that we don't know what it is. I can't even see it. So how far we have to go back to actually see zone. And the last time we were in this area was back in 2000. So I think I've already done this a couple times, but I just want to point out we've traded through these areas already. So the next real junctional point is up in this level here. We could see some stuff coming in at 16, like 116 area here, 115.9 area. But after that, it's another rally up into this area here, 115. Just because we had a big gap, and we also had another big gap up in the 17 area here as well. So really interesting to see as we continue to move forward. But there'd probably be some type of selling up in here, but even then, it's not. It's just not. They're still looking to push this thing up as we keep seeing on a higher time frame, weekly demand areas, weekly demand wicks here as we keep pushing up. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Now let's go ahead and jump right into Bitcoin here. Bitcoin is looking pretty stable in the fact that it is going sideways at these levels. Be mindful of that 8-period moving average on the weekly sitting right above us, right here where price is sitting. It's been holding pretty strong, as well as we have that 20-period moving average sitting at the mark of 2100, almost to the exact number. So I'll be ready for that, guys. This area here. If we do continue up on that weekly, we're coming on a monthly chart. We are definitely still selling off that 50-period moving average and continuing kind of going sideways based off of the weekly wicks here as we're playing off of these. So really interesting to see as we keep moving forward. That 8-period moving average keeps keeping that resistance in the market here. So be paying attention to that. But we did see some pretty decent buying last week in regards to pushing it up. But if you look at these areas here, we do see more of a seller wick on both these levels here. So as we were pushing down, we did see an increase in volume. So it's really interesting to see how it's going to happen next week. If you look at the daily as we were selling off, we did see an increase in volume as it was selling off. So it's going to be interesting to see as we continue to next week. Are we going to then see a sell off, or are we going to see a push up? The indication for me is that we're playing in between these supply and demand wicks as we're going sideways here. So we might still consolidate based off of what we're seeing with the demand and supply wicks. When it comes down to Ethereum looks pretty much the same way. Not really much of a change, except for it is showing a little bit of strength because we're not as close to the lows of the 910 area here. So we still are at least kind of going sideways in between the this whole entire range area after the fall or after the merge. So we'll see what happens when we come and we test the 8-period moving average again at this level. If we do continue up at this level, and if we do continue up into the week, then be ready for that to be hit on that 8-period moving average, and then a sell-off again. It's going to be the first real test after the merge sell-off. You can see here that we're still playing off our demand zone here by pushing this up, but we did fall underneath that 8-period, or excuse me, not 8, but that 20-period moving average sitting on the weekly chart. So to me, when I look at that, it's definitely more of a bearish sign where that support did step in. So it's one of those things that you need to be mindful of, right? The fact is that support did blow through it as we felt support come in, but now we're selling off on it. So it's one of those things you need to be paying attention to as we come down into this other level here, down into these lower levels again. We did trade through last week this area. So if we come back down through this area here again, I do see some type of support coming in, but not much. If we get down to that level, we're definitely probably going to be coming down to that 1180 to 1140 area below it, which is about right here. This is the area in which you're really looking for. So we'll find out what happens. Even not 1180, excuse me, it'd be the 1115. So it's going to be really cool. It's actually really cool. Give me 1 second. Here we go. All right, so the next level here also on that daily, if we do continue to go down, is the next area is this area here, which is that daily, which is going to be that 936 and then 88 or 860 area. These two areas here are areas of support that we did find and we did rally high off of. This was the rally that we saw come in for the potential merge. You guys can see here now that this level is probably going to drop further. Oh, for sure. Intentions. Yep, I agree. I agree with you, my friend. I agree with you 100%. If you've got snaps. Hey Pedro, pump it up. It's me, Gabriel here. Oh, snaps. Let me bring you in. I apologize. I didn't know if you were free because I'm kind of late here. So let me go ahead and send you the invite, my friend. 1 second. Come on in, my friend. Should be good. Let me know. So this part area here, as we can see, is a really interesting part simply because these areas here of support have already been traded through, right? So if we fall through this area here, we should see another fairly decent leg down as we continue down. So we'll see what happens. We'll find out what's going on. 1 more second. There we are. So as we continue to move down in these areas here, what you want to be seeing, if it's going to continue down, is more seller wicks than buyer wicks. It's the seller wicks that we're seeing as we push down. If we're seeing more buyer wicks as it sells off and then continues up, sells off, and then even though you're putting lower highs and lower lows, you want to be paying attention to those who are buying as we're continuing to go down, because they're establishing orders as they are going down. So something to be paying attention to, as well as if we see more seller wicks stepping in as we're selling off, that's them getting ready to actually put in more sells or selling off their positions within Ethereum. So be paying attention to that. Let's go to BNB here real quick. BNB is a little bit different. We're actually seeing some pretty good areas here of support stepping in. After the merge, you did see a bit of a sell-off as well, but not much, and they've been continuing up. The other additional part to point out is last week, or actually 2 weeks ago, when we did see the actual movement of the markets, right? It's important to be remembering this part, is that BNB did not see much of a move. I mean, when they got hacked, and then it just barely even moved. Um, Pardon me, guys, here real quick. I'm just getting hit up by other people. I also know that I'm streaming a little late. I normally typically stream around 8 o'clock, or excuse me, not 8 o'clock, but 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So it's one of those things that makes it a little bit easy for people to kind of catch during lunchtime. But it's something to be looking. I look at as the time that the market starts to slow down and we start to, it's picked its trend that it wants to move, and so that's actually why I picked that time period for myself. It just makes it easier for me to live stream instead of having to pay attention to trades that I've been, that I'm currently either trying to get into or trying to get out. So yeah, this is just I like this time period for me to stream. Now, as you guys can see here, we have XRP. XRP is showing a pretty good strength area here. We did bounce off on this demand area here, which was previous supply. So this area here becomes new demand, right? And so as we look to see the market come down into these levels, we'll probably see some major movement here. I'm actually going to move this out here real quick. I'm just going to take this off here real quick. And we're going to put in some new area of support that we'll be able to play. Yes. So you can see here that we're not putting a lot of supply wicks. We have a huge supply wick here which pushed it down, but look, this is what I'm talking about. You can see as we sell off, they buy it up. As we sell off, they're buying it up. So it's like they're continuing it down, but somebody's in here buying this position as they're selling it off. So that's something that we do want to see as XRP can, if XRP continues down and we follow that 8-period moving average on that daily, we be mindful that it will most likely come and find support at these areas here. We have our area right here, which was previous supply, which has now become demand. So you can see here that this area here is an area of support that will probably come down to hit and then continue up. So be ready for that. That if it works. All right. So these are just little things I'm just paying attention to, guys. That we need to be paying attention is that 8-period moving average coming down at that 43-cent mark. It's a nice area that you could be potentially capture some movement of the market there. Now, one of the things I try to do, right, is to find support on a demand wick or supply wick, right, for that area. We have something sitting right here, which would be on the 4-hour period here, is what we're playing. So we played off of this area here. So you can sit there and see, did we create a higher high? No, we did not. So most likely it's going to come back down in between these levels and find more buyers to see if they can create a new higher high. So we'll find out as we move forward. Now let's look at Solana here. Solana again is showing actually weakness at these levels. We did sell off that from these highs here. We had a huge buy last month, or last week. I did come through and I did talk about that, but then I also brought in the fact that we were coming up to test this 8-period moving average. So you can see now we've sold off, and now we're just trying. It's basically trying to see, is this going to sell off or not? Now, if I'm looking at this right now, we're seeing more sellers than buyers step in as it moved up. And additionally to that, as I pointed out, actually I didn't point that out because I wasn't here, but I like to point out when there's no buyer wicks, typically they want to come down and establish a buyer wick at that level where there is no buyer wick, right? That's always say if you look at the day, the daily chart doesn't have a big buyer wick, it will then hit a higher time frame SMA, either on a week, a daily, weekly, or monthly, and then sell off below the previous day that has no buyer or seller wick. So, or push up above it if there's a seller wick, or down to an area where there's lack of buyer wick. So, just making sure that we understand that. Now, this area here, below here, guys, like I said, comes down. I feel like this is going to be an area that we're just going to be able to push through Solana and come back down and test that 1800 mark, or not 1800, excuse me, $18 mark. So we'll find out what's happening here. But again, this is still putting in lower highs and lower lows on a higher time frame scale. So it's going to be really interesting to see as we continue moving forward from Solana. You can see here below. Now it is consolidating. I really feel like there are more buyers down at these levels that will want to push the market up. And this is where I'm looking at to be going now. Let's look at DOT here. DOT is pretty strong. Actually, DOT is not strong. DOT is showing some weakness here because we have lower lows here and now selling off. Now, if we look at this level here, right, you can see here that there was a big buyer wick that did come in, stepping like you saw with the other ones, back into our support area here. So we want to be able to see either more seller wicks or buyer wicks as they're establishing orders, right? These movements in the market are really important to be able to gauge which movement they want to push it to the next level. If we go to a higher time frame here on the monthly, you can see here that there's really nothing stepping in. We have that 8 all the way up here. On a weekly, you can see here that we have been playing off of that 8, which is right here, and continuing the market to go down. That 20 still has to fight. We're still going to have to fight through that $7 market that's going to continue up. And then we also have the $4 mark that I've been talking about that will probably most likely come down to on DOT. ADA, as you can see here, it's starting to have a sell-off even further than what we talked about. I've been talking about that 15-cent mark here for a while. We did sell off through that 39-cent mark now, and coming down here, I am waiting for this area here to hit where you can be able to buy ADA. I feel bad because here's the thing, right? Like I overheard the CEO of Cardano talking trash about Solana and a few other things, and I think that's just so silly right now. It's silly. Don't if we've learned enough in crypto that whenever a CEO, whether he means good or doesn't mean good, right, or if he's looking at things from a logical standpoint, don't talk trash about people. Or don't talk negative, because I think the power of bees sit there and knows that they're the ones putting money into it. So if you're gonna, and they have a weird righteous system, right? So y'all need to be careful. I mean, look at Do Kwon and a few other people out there. Celsius. The CEOs always kind of talk trash a little bit, got a little cocky. Like, stay humble, keep working your bill. Keep working your money back. Don't stop it. But don't be paying attention to other people or I just think that's dumb. Everybody's trying to make a buck and encourage people, right? Even if it's a negative thing, just sit there and I don't know if you need to point it out. It doesn't need to be you to point it out, or with a market pointing out within itself, right? So it's something to be considering. Right here, as you guys can see, we did sell below here, and it was a pretty strong sell. We did push up a lot of volume in comparison to last week versus the week prior. We did put that seller wick in with and I did point out within, I think, the last few weeks. So this week I didn't do it. Last week I didn't do it. Yeah, so this week, previous weeks, You can see here that we definitely did not have any seller wick here, or excuse me, buyer wick here coming in. And we were below those moving averages. We'll then continue the sell off down into these lower time frames or these lower demand zones. So once we come down into these areas here, this area here is really where I'm kind of looking to be getting ADA in, right? And to see what happens with Cardano at these levels. I know people are saying this is the death march, right? Where they're just, but I feel like this is where the institutions really want to buy Cardano. You know, that's where it's like that 95% mark, right? With Cardano at its high. I think that's what it is. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. I forget what Cardano's high was. It's $3. So I believe that's the 95% mark at that 15 cents here. What would be 100%? I think it's 95%. Forgive me if I'm wrong. With that. Now the other part behind ADA here, when I'm looking at the actual daily chart here, is that we are following that 8 period moving average, as you guys can see, pretty strong, and we're not really putting in as we hit it. As we hit that 8 period moving average, we're not putting any much of a demand wick at these levels, more or less supply wick as we're moving forward. So also pointing out, there is buying coming in, so that they have not been left to the wolves here. So there are people that are buying this and pushing this up at a higher level. Let's see where they bought in at. Yeah, you can sit there and see it. Pushing it up, boom. Yeah, so that's really interesting to see as it sold off. You did see some major buys as it was moving up. Then they continued it down. So, excuse me, let's check out that monthly chart. 1 second. Boom. Now we can see this here real quick. All right. Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see as this moves forward. Check out the Dogecoin, Doge, Doji the Doge. Doge is looking pretty. Again, look, they're battling, man. This is not a joke. People are buying and selling this baby here. Look at this. Boom, boom, boom. We're seeing seller wicks. We're seeing buyer wicks. This is a battle here. So really interesting to see what's actually happening within this chart. Will Doge be the one to stick around? Who knows? It'd be really interesting if Elon Musk was the sit that was talking over on the Coin Lounge, and we were talking. I said, you know what would be really interesting to see if Elon Musk was to go through and put Dogecoin as its primary currency for if they colonize Mars, right? That would be something that just be like, right? So that would send Dogecoin up to probably $1 from here. So it'd be really interesting to see how that actually moves. But as of right now, I'm still kind of bearish down into these lower levels here. Still there. We're still playing. We put in a lower low from here, from this lower high. We have not put in a complete lower low, which is from here when we had the major sell-off, than Bitcoin. So it's still showing some strength here, but more or less consolidation and looking to go down. As you can see overall, we are seeing volume step down as well. So that typically means that interest is more down the lower levels for people to buy. So that's something for me to, something for you guys to consider. Let's check out Matic here real quick. Matic is now starting to push up, and which is really interesting. For myself, as I'm seeing this, we are coming into these higher time frame SMAs here, right? So this is going to be really interesting to see as it decides what it wants to do. Just daily 15. Go. So you can sit there and see this. Be nuts if we actually see Matic really starts to push through. If Matic takes hold of this and really starts to push through, we could see some major buying coming back up into these areas here, the higher highs. It looks like more like a bull flag than anything here. So really interesting to see. The only problem that does concern me is that we did not have much of a buyer wick here. So typically it means that we hit higher time frame SMAs, hence then we'll see a turnaround based off that. We do have that 50 period moving average sitting right here, along with looks like the 200. Oh, looks like the 200 came all the way down to here on that daily. We did find support here, which is really interesting to sit there and see. So that's really interesting to see. I want to point out that we're not seeing, after this big buy wicks, but we're not seeing a lot of buyer wicks, but more or less seller wicks here. And so to me, it looks like it's a rope-a-dope to where they're bringing in the buyers and the institutions are taking the other side and looking to sell this off down into these levels here. So paying attention to that. It's the higher time frame area that you're looking for, right, to see where they might turn it around at. Right now, we have that staunch monthly moving average here on the 8. So at that 90, 89 area mark here. Yeah, that's in a nutshell, guys. Last year weekly, or last week's weekly, we did have a bounce off of that 20 period moving average, but I thought we would do a little bit more ping pong, but we didn't. We did sell off, but we are coming up to that higher time from SMA at these levels, and we're also sitting at a weekly moving average here, or excuse me, a weekly and daily supply zone here. So this area here, in conjunction with the higher time frame moving average, does seem very bearish to me as we're coming into this area. So we're gonna need to see some major buying coming in to push through this area, because we do have that 20, or we have that 8 period moving average coming in. Now let's go ahead and look at Shiba. Shiba again is another one that's kind of battling, which is really interesting. We're not seeing a lot of buyers or sellers step in. They are basically kind of going sideways here. Overall, you do have, you know, like you said, you have a higher low, and then you have a lower high, and then another higher low. So most likely next month we'll see a lower high again, and just battling back and forth while we're in this sideways motion here. I am very bullish on Shiba Inu here though, because now not at this level, but at these lower levels here at the 682 or 850 area here, these are areas of buying that I'm looking at to really kind of gauge at these levels. These are good levels. I think you can buy it and be able to see what it does. If we do see a sell-off below, then this is actually going to hit the beginning of Shiba Inu when it first goes through. So who knows what happens there. But for me, I am more of a buyer down at the 680-ish area here for myself, just simply because that was the original push that we saw with Shiba Inu as it made new highs here. So real interesting. So I like it right here. Boom, right here. We can see if this thing rallies again and we get above that 8.7 mark, 8 or 9.1 mark. This is going to be a real interesting area to sit there and see what happens. Here we go. Let's point this up here. All right, that's cool. So that's in a nutshell, guys. Thanks for coming in today. I appreciate you guys. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, you can always find me at Moonrock. The Moonrock International. I will put the. I've also been going into the Ninja Lounge as well. So if you guys want to find me as well, you can find me in the Ninja Lounge, and as well as Coin Launch Lounge. So That's it in a nutshell. Thanks for coming in, guys. I appreciate you. I'm about to put in Moonwalk's setup here. 1 second. Here you guys go. That's it. Boom. All right, guys. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Many blessings. Have a great day. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye. I'll see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I will be here tomorrow simply because we got some major news coming in. So you got to be here for that. Here we are.